Howdy. It will be my first post, and I'm keeping it free format with the objective to record everything at one go. Now you must be wondering, why this subject title and what is the purpose of this channel? Perhaps the name piques your interest. Best at average? What is this for? Who is this for? And where is this going? Well, like all things new and all things starting, we just have to build it as we go along. So welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking through curiosity, or perhaps the YouTube algorithms have been in my favor. Either way, welcome aboard. And looking forward to start this journey with you. Now, what's this channel about? Why even create this, right? So I can see there are a multitude of well-established, very respectable players in the manosphere. And there are so many proponents, so many great champions and role models of the Red Pill community. And where I'm at and what my focus is isn't really just looking at the high value man, but really to go back to my title here, right? What's wrong with average? And why can't we celebrate being average? Now, I know everyone wants to be a high value man, but if you know the reality being is that the concept of a bell curve is where no one, actually 100% of population cannot all be high value men, because even if we all double our income, double our assets, double our value, the bell curve still remains. There will always be a top tier, there will always be a below tier, and there will always be average. So while we all continue to strive to become the best version of ourselves, and rightfully so, we should continue to do that, it is very important, in my opinion, that we should also pause sometimes in that journey as we strive to really move up that stream. Take a pause. Take a moment to celebrate the average man, to celebrate being average, and to celebrate that you're not on the extremes, alright? So you think about it this way: if everyone was the same, if everyone was all high value, they would be meaningless, correct? And you know too, let's say the high value men like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, all these very high value men can't do it on their own. They actually need a whole team of average men, average people, I would say, to help them achieve the collective goal. So I can say this without a shadow of doubt: without us average men or women, or average people, I would say, there would be no high value man. The high value man is not able to on its own be high value. It is just like a flame. If there's no oxygen providing this high value man, there's nothing. If there are no people for this man to benchmark, let's say this person is all on their own in a planet desolate of any human being. Yes, he'll be the most valuable man, but also at the same time, he'll be the least valuable man. And at the very fact, when you distill it, it's just a man. So it is very important to have average men, because they are the ones who give that foundation, who build that foundation and support the high value man and make things happen, alright? And again, I just want us to remember that being average is not bad at all. Sometimes the best things in life are average, and you can really think of it also as moderation. So perhaps before we move on, let us really just have a quick look at the definition of average. So what is average? Well, this is based on Oxford. Yeah, it says here, a number expressing the central or typical value in a set of data, in particular the mode, median, or most commonly, the mean, which is calculated by dividing the sum of the values in the set by their number. So another definition here, the apportionment of financial liability resulting from loss of or damage to a ship of its cargo. Amount to or achieve as an average rate or amount of over a period of time. So what does this mean in actual fact? Average means the sum of all parts. Assuming you put 100 people there, you add them all together and then you just divide them by 2 right in the middle there. This would be called average. And that means you're not the best in a certain benchmark that you measure. But inversely also means you're not the worst. And that is really not a bad place to be, because if you think about it, just stop and think about it, alright? You have very little pressure in that sense. I mean, the world will give you that pressure, but you don't have that massive pressure to always attain that high value level. You can actually position yourself and study others before you actually make that move also to move up that high value chain. And even not just talking about men as a whole, we can even look at women and people as general. If you're average looking, you can actually put on makeup, right? If you're average looking, you can work out in the gym, become fit, work on certain skill sets. This will help you move up that value chain. And you actually have something that a lot of very high value men may not have. You actually have privacy. You can actually even have the anonymity, and you'll be surprised, a lot of very high value men wish, or high value women to the effect, wish that they could just walk out into the street anonymous, no paparazzis, no media looking after them. If they just make one iota of a mistake, not everyone would pounce onto them, and they can just really have a peaceful life. Because if you really look at you study all these very rich men, for example, they really fear for their life. A lot of them do. They need to hire bodyguards. They need to have a very high security in the place they stay. They need to stay in certain areas where they are well guarded. They cannot go to any restaurant that they just wish to go, because if they were just to walk to a restaurant on the street, they could be recognized. There could be repercussions, and they may have too many things to lose. Really think about it. Too many things to lose. And if they don't value that anymore, right? If they don't take attention to that anymore, there are actually consequences, not to themselves, could be to their family, it could be their community. So really, being average, you have some grace, you have some room, and you have that flexibility to move around people, because you're not going to stand out, you're not going to be a target, you're not going to be a key focal point. All haters are not going to hate on you, and you can really move with ease. So again, thinking about this, alright, understanding this actually gift you have, it's not bad then, isn't it, when you look at it that way? And I look at it too. And myself being in the corporate world, there are really some benefits not always standing out, because really, when you're always standing out, you have a lot of haters too, and a lot of them are really focusing on how to one up you, or how to pick on your flaws, or really look at other people or other areas that you're in to get to you. And it's always a dog eat dog world out there, as you all know. Now, another concept that I would also like to cover further down in another video is really also the concept of the average, or the ideology of average. We must not just think of average as just a single point in time. This is something personally I struggle with for my decades on this earth. As you know, I ain't no spring chicken now, as I'm declaring here. But if you think about it, your life is one big average journey. Right? If you think of it that way, you start from a baby, you're helpless, you grow up to be a young adult, adventure the world, Then as you get older, you become a contributing member of society. Hopefully, you do your part. You're actually reaching the peak of your strength, your beauty, your mental intellect. But perhaps it could be a blessing, it could be a curse from whoever takes a look at it. We are faced with mortality. Humans are not immortal, and we will die eventually, right? The average lifespan in the world, I believe, is around 72 years on this planet. So if you think about it, your life is actually one big bell curve too, where you reach a peak, but at the end of the day, you will grow old. Like myself, we will grow weak, right? We will then maybe beset with some illness, or through some tragic twist of fate, our life may even end prematurely. So a lot of things are not within our control. We try to minimize the risk versus the rewards, and we also really are cognizant that sometimes we don't know the exact time that we have, and perhaps that's what really drives a lot of us to really make the best of what we have. So going back on the concept of average again, your life is one big average. You start off weak as a baby, defenseless. You become an adult, really reaching your peak of your health, peak of your strength, before you again decline, really working backwards in that sense, and you become dependent on people with eventual death. So everyone is actually average. There is no really extraordinary person. It could be this point in time, a slice of life, that you are extraordinary, but like everybody does realize in the end, nothing lasts forever. And if you look at a lot of these people, do they have regrets? I'm pretty sure everyone has some form of regrets. Even the richest of us all, even the poorest of us all, everyone has to some degree some regret that perhaps they could have done something better. Just like a very rich person, for example, they might say, yes, they had a lot of money, but in order to attain that wealth, they need to average out their life, right? So by them attaining this wealth, they may have had to work hours beyond a normal, human being, 80 hours a week perhaps, maybe even 100, that's really going on the extreme, right? But you get where I'm coming from. And what suffers perhaps, it could be their family, right? It could be their health. It could be quality time with loved ones. And when you do talk to people, I think there was a survey last time where you talk to people in, like, for example, old folks' homes, or you talk to people that are, aging and close to death. You ask them what was their regret. And you'd be surprised. Most of them didn't say, I wish I made more money. I wish, I climbed up the corporate ladder, I wish I made another 10 more million, I had 10 and I need another 10 more, They never said that. They will talk about really more of the things that were not money related, And a key thing that stood out was perhaps really spending time with their loved ones, right? Taking better care of their health, caring for the community, right? And maybe doing the passion that they might have had, they might have an interest. So the reality is this: everything has a give or take. Everything has a plus and minus. There is no such thing as winner takes all. There is always a cost. However, some things do make a bit more sense. Some things do make less sense. So exercising judgment at the right place at the right time, building that experience, is really something that's very important. That's why, in my opinion, for someone to really share a lot of these concepts, needs to actually pass through the passage of time. They need to go through this and learn and experience. Because as you know, when I was young, like many of you, we don't listen to our elders, right? That's the reality of it. It's keeping it real. And we want to say, you old fogies, don't tell us what to do. You don't know us. You don't know our struggle. But hey, take a step back. We've all been teenagers. We've all been really this rebellious POS. And we have matured over time. We have marinated, from the spice of life. And we have filled the volumes of pages, in our library of life. And that's why for me, I would definitely have still a lot to learn. But perhaps facing with the concept of mortality, facing with the concept of maybe building a legacy, you can say it that way, or facing the concept with returning something back to the community, to society, I wanted to pen some of my thoughts down. I wanted to share some of my journeys in life. I would say my journey in life is also average. I'm sure like many of us, and that is not, as I realize, is not necessarily a bad thing. Something my father told me, which I couldn't understand many years back, was life is boring. Life is, just kind of boring. And you know what? If it is, it's actually a blessing, right? Boring equals blessing. I know it sounds weird, especially when you're young, you're always chasing the natural highs. I think particularly women love that emotional roller coaster, men less so, men prefer less drama. But with women chasing that emotional high, you can see that they love to invite drama in their life. And as men, we realize actually having drama is not necessarily a good thing. Maybe short little bursts are good, but if your life is one big dramatic roller coaster, you might have to evaluate your life choices. You might have to evaluate your priorities. Because what I've valued now is actually boredom, routine, stability. And I can say a lot of young women, especially in the Western society, right, just love to have some drama. It could be self-created too, like shit testing, or they just love a man that is really unstable because it makes them tingle in that kind of way. And unfortunately, if women left alone to their devices, will pick men based on feelings. And what better way to trigger your feelings than having an unstable man, right? The man that is spontaneous but unapproachable. The man that is very passionate but also aggressive, isn't it? The man that dares to pursue you but has nothing to lose. Think about it. This is what women are attracted to because they are emotional creatures, and that's what they want for stimulation. And when the man is stable, they feel bored, and if they feel bored, what happens? They start creating some drama on their own. So I hope for ladies listeners in the call here, I hope you recognize that sometimes boring is good, and it's really difficult to say that. I know you want to go and have adventure every day, but you think about it this way: if every day was a holiday, it wouldn't feel like a holiday anymore, right? If you didn't save your money and spend everything on traveling, you have nothing left when winter comes. And like what Kevin Samuel says, winter is coming, and for some of us, winter is here. So now's the time really to take a look at what you're doing in life. Now's the time to really take a look at what you want to achieve. And now's the time to really think of how you want to really protect your wealth, protect your happiness, right? Protect your passion and protect your interest. Because if you don't, the average equation will come back to haunt you. You're on a high point now, but if you didn't do a good job preparing, you might be reaching that low point now, right? And how are you preparing for when you're reaching that low point? How are you preparing to average out your curve? And if your answer was to find a man, I'm sorry to say that you got to work doubly as hard now, because men already have been established. Women outnumber men. It's already been established that. and really productive men, the average men, are available. But more and more so, they are rejecting women. They are telling women that you overvalue yourselves. You are not 10 out of 10. You are average. But you cannot accept an average man like me. Then you deserve nothing. You see? Men among men are realistic. We know what is your ranking, right? We know how to determine you in the hierarchy or in the chain. But with ladies, again, emotions transcend the matrix of logic. And you can believe what you like. Right? I can believe I'm a unicorn, and so be it. Poof. But the world doesn't follow that logic. Society doesn't follow that logic. Who knows, with women coming on board, things might change. For better or for worse, I don't know. But the reality is this: you have to take a deep look at your own value. You have to take a look at what you bring to the table, which is what's always been said. You need to have a critical eye. And you must put yourself, empathy is very important on to your target. What would they like? What do you have to offer? What can you build together? Understanding all this is absolutely critical. Not just from an interpersonal relationships case, but working with people in the corporate world, working with friends, dealing with your parents, children, relatives, you name it. Empathy and EQ, as in, is, I would arguably say, more important than IQ. Right? And EQ doesn't mean being highly emotional. It means being aware of your emotions and understanding people around you. You're understanding what they want, right? What they need, what their challenge are. Putting yourself in other people's shoes. And if you're able to go the next level up, I would say, is allowing that person to put them into your shoes, to see it from your perspective. So that if they can empathize with you, I can say this, both of you then will have a common goal to work towards too. And to me, that is more important than saying that you're the smartest person in the room. Because if you're smart, but you're socially awkward, if you're smart, but you can't win anybody over, and you've got a really shitty attitude, sorry to say, you're going to be stunted in life. And sorry to say, you're not going to be able to be recognized by your peers, your superiors, your juniors, right? So that's something we got to take a hard look at ourselves too. Are we tone deaf? Or are we really attuned? So, keep tabs on this channel. Tell me what you want to listen. Tell me what you want me to expand on. And tell me, what you want to, to discuss about, right? What do you want me to just shed some light on? And I'm just happy to share more of what I've learned. I'm imperfect, disclaimer, I'm just an average man like you. But let's try to aim for above average outcomes. I would like to, in subsequent episodes, touch more on the concept of average and really kind of draw parallel to the male and female dynamic, how average for each one of us is different. How we can actually having a unity, right? In my opinion, which a lot of us are crystallized to something we all know as marriage. And it's definitely a high stakes game for a man. I'm sure for if you're already here, all the multitude of risks for getting married. But if we think about it, and if the timing of getting married, and with strong societal, upbringing, and maybe you can use the word pressures, but parameters set, actually a marriage is very, very valuable. for both parties. But we'll talk about that another day. So, without going any further for today, I'm sure you've heard more than enough, and I thank you for really sitting through this 20 odd minutes of monologue. Do give it a like if you enjoyed it. Do add a comment. I will respond to that. And if you want to know more, subscribe, hit that button, the bell, so that we can notify you when there's new content coming up. And I wish you all the best. Stay average and stay safe.